Liverpool spent over 400 million to rebuild Slott's team, and yet he's just lost 3 games in a row for the first time in his career. So, how has so much money led to a worse Liverpool? I'm going to be breaking down why the new signings have created problems in Slott's system, what's stopping their £100 million record signing from being effective, and how this is all leading to the best player in the league last year, Mohamed Salah, now having his worst season at Liverpool so far. Why exactly have their signings created problems? And what must Slot change to fix it? Liverpool brought in 7 new faces in the summer and broke their transfer record twice. And something that I think is really worth doing here is to establish why they were signed. And to do that, we need to have a look at who they've replaced. Quite a few players from the first team left over the summer, meaning replacements were required. This was Liverpool's typical lineup last season. During build-up, the back four was initially quite flat, allowing for different options in that first phase of play. And this was really beneficial to Liverpool, as you got someone like Trent, who was extremely comfortable on the ball in these deep areas and threatening. And you can see exactly that from Trent's touch map here. Now compare that to Frimpong and you can see a big difference with the touches very high in the final third. Now at left back, Robertson was also asked to be on the ball in deep areas. Now look at the average positions this season against Bournemouth. New left back Kirkes is asked to stay deeper too, resulting, I can't believe I'm about to say this, he only touched the ball twice in the final third. And this came as quite a surprise, given how attack-minded he was at Bournemouth. This touch map shows him not only receiving the ball in the final third, but even in the opposition's box. And this is something that we need to come back to. Let's take a look at the huge change to Liverpool's forward line. Last season, Slot settled on Luis Diaz as his main striker through the middle, who was initially a left winger. Diaz frequently picked up these positions on the pitch, and occasionally he was leaving Liverpool without an actual striker. But what Diaz did was he made sort of associative runs depending on the positioning of his teammates. You can see him running behind Szoboszlai here, allowing him to target the space once Salah gets the ball, where he receives it and scores. So Ekitike's come in, and his role has been somewhat similar on certain aspects, peeling to the left, but he's frequently in the middle too. It started well for Ekitike as well, 6 goal involvements in all competitions since his Liverpool debut, and so the real issues become clear when we look at 2 of their biggest signings, Wirtz and Isak, and how they tie into Liverpool's problems. So what began as a simple question has now become a real problem. How do you fit all these players into one starting 11, especially given the huge differences in their profiles? So far this season, Liverpool have conceded 9 goals, ranking only 11th in the league. This is such a big drop-off considering they had the second best defence in the league last season. But this season, the first goal they conceded against Bournemouth, in hindsight, it should have been a big warning sign. This was their lineup against Bournemouth. And so without Gravenberch in that one, the double pivot was formed of Szoboszlai and McAllister, 2 kind of technically brilliant footballers. Szoboszlai played a more attacking role under Slot last season, meaning he naturally took more risks. But here, he's doing it in a deeper position with 4 Liverpool players ahead of him. So when he loses the ball after attempting a sort of risky flick, it forces 7 Liverpool players to rush back from advanced positions. One pass to David Brooks allows Bournemouth to exploit a huge space in Liverpool's half. They conceded in the space of 8 seconds here after losing the ball. And at the time, an avoidable goal to concede, but possibly a sign of a wider problem. So with that idea of so many kind of technical first players on the pitch, it takes away from that natural defensive nous of a team. But of course, Gravenberch has returned, so why is there still a structural issue for Liverpool? Well, this brings us to the big elephant in the room, or the small German. There are a few key things that I think we need to unpack to understand what's going on. So I'm going to be looking at why Wirtz thrived at Leverkusen, the problem with his Liverpool role, and how his arrival, as well as Isak and Ekitike's, have affected Salah. Now, first of all, let's establish what made him a £100 million player at Bayer Leverkusen. This is how Xabi Alonso set up Leverkusen last season, and there's some crucial ingredients here that Wirtz doesn't have around him currently at Liverpool. Now, this is their average positions against Hoffenheim last season. Wirtz is spending most of his time in half spaces and touches the ball wide in the final third as well. And although Grimaldo was also on that left, he was extremely wide and he stayed out of the way in the final third. Their striker, Boniface, wasn't really demanding of the ball, only touching it 15 times in the 45 minutes that he played in this one. And this structure led to Wirtz picking up the ball in these types of areas where nobody, this is crucial here, nobody is getting in his way. This zone is entirely his to dominate. All of these elements brought the best out of his talent, creating outrageous chances like this. And even when the spaces were tighter against low blocks, Wirtz still created chances because his teammates left this space vacant for him, allowing for interchanges and a shot at goal against a low block defence. This was Wirtz's heat map after coming on against Crystal Palace. Now, instantly, you can see that his touches are quite diverse in where he's getting on the ball, which for me, I think is a problem. Wirtz initially does really well to win the ball high up the pitch, but look at the left side. It's taken up by Kerkez and Gakpo, leaving Wirtz more central instead of playing wide. Wirtz turns and shoots, but it's blocked because he's in a crowded area. And because he's operating in areas different from those that he had at Leverkusen, his decision-making, it doesn't look as sharp and he doesn't look as comfortable. Wirtz may have had success in half spaces at Leverkusen, but his starting position was a crucial factor. He was allowed to start wide, then combine with teammates in central areas, allowing him to end up in these spaces, not starting them. And he was at his best doing exactly this. This points towards a wider problem in Liverpool's structure, and it's affecting one player in particular.
The Liverpool conundrum is fascinating, and I was sort of nervous to put it out there. There is a problem there with Salah, isn't there? Like, no one wants to say it. No one wants to say it. I'm scared to say it, but
this time next year, I don't think Salah will be at the club.
I don't think Van Dijk trusts Koke.
Come and be a part of the JLA Substack, links in the description. So during build-up, many players occupy the left side, creating congestion and drawing Palace players over. That forces Van Dijk to pass to the right instead, even though Liverpool clearly want to play down the left whenever possible. So here, Van Dijk is in possession and Wirtz drops deep to receive the ball. But Van Dijk instead doesn't choose to pass the ball to him. He goes long to find Ekitike, making the opposite movement. So in theory, this is fine as Wirtz drags away a player to create space for Ekitike, but this is another example of how they don't really play to Wirtz's strengths. And again, Liverpool stretch the pitch and they bypass the midfield with this long pass to Gakpo. Wirtz makes a move towards the ball just as Van Dijk plays the pass. So when Gakpo receives it, it's actually Jones who is in the position Wirtz would ideally take up. Van Dijk's pass map from the second half against Crystal Palace completely backs this up for me. All of his forward passes went to the left, and all of the passes that he played to his right were lateral short passes. In the same game last season, there was so much more emphasis on playing forward and to the right. And these long, beautiful raking passes to the right were often aimed towards Salah. And he's a point of concern to me this season. Firstly, let's address where he's getting the ball before we analyse why his dribbling has fallen off a cliff so far this season. Now, initially, his heat map from last season looks similar to this, but there's one key difference. Salah's touches in the box have drastically fallen from 9.49 last season to 4.71 this season. In fact, this is the lowest it's ever been by some distance since joining Liverpool. So, why is this happening? Well, have a look at this from last season. Diaz, who started as a striker, dropped deep to the left. This is supported by Szoboszlai's off-the-ball movement. His run creates the space for Salah to drift into from the right. And last season, he was always aware of where Salah is, even squaring it across to him for an easy goal. Szoboszlai plays a crucial part in this goal without even touching the ball. Kyle Walker-Peters is extremely aware of Szoboszlai's positioning and focuses on it, leading to him losing concentration on Salah's positioning for just that split second. But from there, Salah attacks the space, receives the ball in his desired area and scores. Now have a look at this season against Chelsea. The nearest Liverpool player to Salah is Conor Bradley, the right back. Now last season, he would have had Trent and Szoboszlai there to form a triangle. Now, without a go-between player, Salah drops deeper to open up the passing lane to receive the ball. But now he has few options to play inside. He's able to play it to Isak, who tries to play it back to him. It's an extremely difficult pass, with Garnacho and Cucurella shutting off the angles. The pass, it gets overhit, and Salah is now moving away from the box. Here's another key difference. Isak makes the run in behind, into the space Salah would have attacked last season. And that movement pulls Szoboszlai over to the left. But with Isak focused on finishing rather than creating, it means his movements will be totally different to Dominic as a 10 or Luis Diaz as well as a false 9. Now against Everton in the Merseyside derby, Salah did have Szoboszlai in these positions. And look how different it instantly is with the spaces Salah is able to move into. And that results in Liverpool having an overload in the box, generating space for Salah to receive the ball in. Szoboszlai has the ball here and is instantly looking for Salah as Conor Bradley makes the forward run. Szoboszlai finding Salah so quickly, it then allows Salah to operate in space before being closed down. Meanwhile, Bradley's run drags Michael Keane away, creating space for Gravenberch to receive and score, resulting in an assist for Mohamed Salah. So the problem is, Szoboszlai has been moved around a lot this season, playing as a right back more than any other position. And with Szoboszlai playing right back more than anything else, his movement in the final third hasn't been a regular occurrence for Liverpool and, crucially, for Salah. Salah has only made one successful dribble this season. One, with an accuracy of 12.5%. Last season, he averaged 1.5 per game, with a success rate of 45%. You had Trent finding him with passes in behind, letting him attack space with speed. This season, he's receiving it to feet so much more with less teammates around him, and he's open to being doubled up on far more frequently. Meaning that if he evades the initial challenge, he will eventually run into trouble. And you'll have seen it, right? Now let's move on to Isak. It's still early to criticise. It really, really is. But his role up front it affects things around him. So let's go back a bit. Konate has the ball here, and Isak has drifted away from the centre-backs to become that option to feed. But look at Szoboszlai. He's looking at where Salah is. A good thing that he did a lot last season. Isak gets the ball, drags Achempo out of position, displacing their back line. And Isak's movement is so good. But the lack of movement into this space by his teammates isn't. Isak plays it wide to Salah, and the way that Szoboszlai's role changes because of this one pass is crazy. Instead of supporting Salah, he makes this forward run. It's because Liverpool want a player attacking the near post, so Isak can wait at the back post, but this means Chelsea double up on Salah and the ball gets played backwards. So what's the solution? And before we get into this, there's one thing I do want to say. Of course, this isn't just like play this team forevermore, but like any great team, you move towards what generally your best team is. And this, for me, feels like a possible solution to find some balance. There'll be games where you've got to play different players, but I'd like to see this. So first of all, the right back position is really interesting, but the most natural right back in this squad is Conor Bradley. Fact. And it will reveal itself later on why I think this is needed. Now, the centre-backs stay the same for me. At left back is Kirkez, who we've not seen the best of yet, but I think this setup could help. McAllister and Gravenberch, they have to be in here, not only for their huge ability to cover huge spaces, but also because of their ability to receive the ball from the defence and link the forwards into play. So next, I've got one of two, Rio or Frimpong. Without Szoboszlai, you simply don't get the best out of Salah on the right. But with one of these two, you've got two explosive players who can receive the ball on their own, beat players 1v1, and drive to the byline and pull back crosses. Now on the left, Florian Wirtz. This is the position he needs to be in. We spoke about it earlier, about his starting position and how crucial that is for his output. Starting as the left midfielder would allow for that. And ultimately, it does allow Liverpool to get the best out of Kirkez going forward, attacking spaces like these, holding the width in the process. Up top, I think you have to play both Ekitike and Isak. And here's why. Ekitike is comfortable with his back to goal in these spaces, whilst also he's got that ability to spin in behind. And that would allow for bounce passes with Wirtz in his desired areas, whilst also bringing in Kirkez. Having those two strikers, it allows for counter movements. If Isak goes short, Ekitike can easily attack the space in behind. Plus, it allows them to target the near and back posts when crossing the ball. And finally, it would allow Liverpool to have a better pressing structure. With two forwards there and ready, if you drop into a 4-4-2 mid-block, you're fine. If you want to go 4-2-4 and be far more aggressive. You've got players in positions ready to go. Currently, what's happening a lot of the time is Salah's kind of sort of half moving over to that side as part of that 2, but it kind of looks like a 3. It's been either Wirtz or Szoboszlai. And I think when you're starting from behind the 2 players, you're just giving a read to those centre-backs, and it allows you to just go bump, bump, and pop it around that press. Now, leaving out Salah, it's a huge call for Slot, and it's easy for me to say it, just chatting to a camera. But with the new team and no like-for-like replacements, he can't revert to last season's tactics, in my opinion. And I'm not doubting Slot for a second, but what he has to do is be brave and inventive with the solution and find a solution that suits everyone.